A nightmare scenario that scientists have been quietly dreading just became reality on American soil. For the first time ever, a flesh-devouring parasite has successfully infected a human being within United States borders. And this could be just the beginning of a much larger crisis. The Department of Health and Human Services dropped this bombshell announcement on Monday, confirming what many experts feared was inevitable. The victim? A Maryland resident who had recently returned from what should have been a routine trip to El Salvador. But here's where it gets controversial. Should international travel restrictions have been implemented sooner to prevent this exact scenario? Let's talk about what we're actually dealing with here. The New World screwworm isn't your typical parasite. It's a species of parasitic fly that literally feeds on living flesh. The name itself tells the horrifying story. These maggots use razor-sharp mouth hooks to literally screw themselves deeper into the tissue of their victims, boring through healthy flesh like a twisted drill. The damage they cause is extensive, and without proper treatment, the outcome is often fatal. Now, before you start planning to never leave your house again, health officials are adamant that the risk to the general American public remains extremely low. The infected patient has made a full recovery, and there's currently no evidence that the parasite has spread to anyone else. But this raises a troubling question that officials aren't fully addressing. If one case made it through, how many others might we be missing? What's particularly alarming is the timing of this discovery. Central American countries and Mexico have been battling an unprecedented explosion of these parasites among their livestock populations. Get this, Panama went from recording an average of just 25 cases per year to over 6,500 cases in 2023 alone. That's a staggering increase of more than 25,000% in just 1 year. And this is the part most people miss. The parasite has now broken through a biological barrier that had successfully contained it to South America for decades. 7 additional Central American countries have reported detections, creating a northward spreading wave that's getting uncomfortably close to our borders. Here's what makes this situation even more complex. The United States actually conquered this threat once before. Through an ingenious scientific approach, American researchers developed a technique where male screwworm flies are sterilized in laboratories and then released into the wild. These sterile males mate with females but produce no offspring, eventually causing the entire population to collapse and die out. It was considered one of the greatest pest control successes in modern history. But nature, as they say, finds a way. Despite decades of successful eradication, the parasite is making a comeback in neighboring regions, and now it's crossed into human populations on American soil. The U.S. Department of Agriculture isn't taking this threat lightly. In a press release that should have gotten more attention than it did, they declared that this parasite represents not just a threat to our ranching communities, but to our entire food supply and national security. Think about that for a moment. When was the last time you heard a government agency use the term national security in relation to a parasite? Their response has been swift and comprehensive. Construction is already underway for a state-of-the-art sterile fly production facility in Texas. They're hiring mounted patrol officers specifically trained to track wildlife movements across borders, and deploying specialized detector dogs at ports of entry to identify potential parasite carriers in imported goods. The trade implications have been immediate and significant. In May, the USDA implemented a complete ban on live cattle, horse, and bison imports from Mexico. While they've slowly begun reopening trade channels, the economic impact on both countries has been substantial. But here's the controversial question. Was this trade disruption an overreaction, or should similar restrictions have been implemented much earlier? Just earlier this month, the FDA took the unprecedented step of issuing an emergency use authorization for animal drugs specifically designed to treat or prevent screwworm infestations. The fact that they fast-tracked this approval process speaks volumes about how seriously officials are taking this threat behind closed doors. So who's actually at risk? The CDC has identified several high-risk categories that might make you reconsider your travel plans. International travelers visiting outbreak areas face elevated danger, particularly those who spend time around livestock animals or choose to sleep outdoors. Most critically, anyone with open wounds becomes a potential target for these flesh-eating invaders. But here, our agricultural industry, already strained by various challenges, would face an entirely new category of biological threat. What's your take on this situation? Do you think our current response measures are adequate, or should we be implementing more aggressive prevention strategies? Should there be mandatory health screenings for travelers returning from affected regions, even if it means more government oversight of personal travel decisions? And perhaps most controversially, is this isolated case truly an anomaly? Or are we witnessing the early stages of a larger biological invasion that officials aren't fully prepared to handle? Share your thoughts and concerns in the comments below, because this conversation affects every single one of us.